So hello. I guess you guys figured out that you can go back and watch these. They're all attached in your doc. So if you missed something, then you can go back and watch this awesomeness again. All right, so this is part three. And part three starts in your grammar book on page 135. So if you'd open up to that, that would be fantastic. And we are going to talk about a couple of things that you may not have heard about. So I'm going to talk about some terms first. This is about agreement of pronouns and their antecedents. Some of you probably have not heard of antecedents before. An antecedent is a fancy way of saying that word that came before a pronoun that the pronoun is talking about. So if I were to give you this sentence right here. The cockroach is a disgusting insect. It freaks me out. The word cockroach is the antecedent because it's being referenced by the pronoun it. So the cockroach is the word that comes before the pronoun, and it's the word that gives the pronoun its right form. If I said something about a girl, then obviously that would be that would require a different pronoun, like she or her. And if I were talking about a boy, it would be like him or his. And all of that depends on the antecedent. I think you guys automatically do that. So you're just going to be asked to pay attention to it a little more. All right, so that's the antecedent. And it's also, I've also mentioned gender. So if you ever hear the term gender, it's just referring to whether or not your pronoun is masculine, feminine, or in the cockroaches case, neuter. Okay, so that is antecedent and gender. All right, so remember that list of indefinite pronouns that I was talking about in the first part, where you had to list all of those like 16 pronouns that were all singular, and then those 4 that were all plural, and then there were some that depended on the prepositional phrase. Well, if you turn to page 136, you'll see them again. Indefinite pronouns also determine what their antecedents are. So if you're talking about either of the girls, you have to refer to any other term, any other part of that sentence with like she, because either is always singular. So if you look at page 136, I think the example is, hold on, let me read. Either of the girls can bring her CD player. And the reason they say her is because either is always singular. It's in that singular column of pronouns that you listed back in part 1. Similarly, if you have one of the pronouns like both or few, many, or several, those pronouns that get referenced later in the sentence are going to be plural. For example, both of the sisters recited their lines. Sisters is plural, therefore you need a pronoun that's plural. There. All right, so if you have one of those pronouns that can be either or, it just depends on what the sentence is trying to say. So if you look on 137, they give you some sentences to look at. All of the water has melted. It is pooling in the valley. So water is your antecedent, and since it's not a girl or a boy, you use the term it to reference it later. All of the streams are full. They are rushing torrents. So they is plural since we're talking about the streams. And the reason I get to go back to that prep phrase is because the pronoun that is being used in that sentence can go either way. It's in that depends on the prep phrase column at the beginning of your doc in that chart that you filled out a long time ago. So that is how you do that. Also, if you have a singular pronoun, you use a singular pronoun if it's referencing 2 words that are connected by or. Remember the rule with or and. Or is always singular, and is always plural, nor is also always singular. If you have something like neither Richard nor Bob distinguished himself. And the reason you say himself, which is singular, is because Richard or Bob is connected by or, and or is always singular. If you had Mona and Janet like to wear their galoshes when it rains, the reason you can use their is because Mona and Janet are connected by and. and always is a reference to something plural. All right, so that is how you deal with pronouns and their antecedents. I would like for you guys to go and try to do Review E with your sub. It starts on page 137. You can do it orally. And then I would like for you to do Review F in your doc. And you can pause me now. Okay, hope that was fun. If you had any questions about that, you can email me to figure it out if you're still confused. I'm going to go on and take a look and knock the rest of this chapter out. Starting on page 139, you can take a look at these things called collective nouns. We talked about those last time. And now when you're talking about collective nouns, they too can be singular or plural depending on their meaning. And likewise, the pronouns that reference them have to be singular or plural and match that meaning. So the example that they have on 139 is this. The pride of lions is hunting its prey on the savannah. Did you take note and hear what that verb is? The pride of lions is hunting. Is singular, which means that you have to have a singular pronoun after it. So that's why they used its. So if I ever asked you to do this, you have to actually go back and look at the clues so verbs can help you figure that out. In this sentence, which also talks about a pride of lions, it's being used as plural. Listen for the clue of the verb. The pride of lions are licking their chops in anticipation. Are is plural, and they use the pronoun their, which is also plural. So it just depends on their meaning, and you can usually find hints within the sentence. Also, we talked about all those weird like numbers and percentages and amounts. That also depends on its meaning. So you have to look at the clues within the sentence to help you figure that out. Here are some examples. Here is $5. Is it enough? See, there I'm talking about an amount, not actually 5 $1 bills. But if I said, oh my gosh, there's $5. Actually, I would have to say there are $5. They are sitting on the table. If I'm talking about 5 $1 bills, then I have to use the word they, a plural pronoun, to reference it. Those $5 bills aren't counterfeit, are they? So there I'm talking about separate bills and wondering if they are counterfeit. Plural pronoun they. The last thing is, again, talking about titles again, and I referenced this in the last thing. If you are talking about titles of books, titles of songs, titles of pieces of art, also you can be talking about like groups of people, like the name of a group of people. And they have some examples of those on page 140. The United States celebrated its centennial in 1976, bicentennial in 1976. The United States would be considered one singular unit, and therefore you have to use the pronoun it. They also talk about this thing called Mules and Men. Listen, after Chad finished reading Mules and Men, he wrote a report on it. Mules and Men is a title, so it's a title of one thing. So you have to use a pronoun it. And then that's about it. They also talk about pants. Whenever you refer to pants and scissors, even though they're one thing, you actually use a plural pronoun. Those are some weird things like pants. You always say they, even though it's one thing. Weird. Okay, so I want you to go and give review G a try with your sub. And that's on page 140. She'll give you the answers and help you work through that. And then I am going to get you guys to do another part. I think I'm going to get you guys to do the chapter review on page 141. Only exercise A, though. So, and I'll have that in your docs, so you'll know to use it. All right, take it easy. I guess I'll see you guys later.